The next question, the member for Cambridge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's good to be free. My question is for the Premier. In March, the government implemented emergency orders shutting down Ontario's economy, including places of worship. Initially, we were told this would last for 2 weeks in order not to overwhelm our healthcare system. 6 months later, we expect many businesses will close permanently as a result. I've heard from many people across our province concerned with the lack of clarity provided with regards to transparent benchmarks and objective criteria being used by the province and local officials in their imposition of emergency powers. This week, the Premier stated that a second shutdown is being considered on specific regions of the province as a result of a week that saw an increase in the number of positive COVID cases being reported. For the sake of transparency and clarity, has or will the government create a general framework that they can share with the people of Ontario with objective criteria, like the rate of increased cases and the duration the increase needs to persist, before a second shutdown is considered or imposed on the province or on specific regions, or will such a decision be made on a gut?
Question. Recognize the Solicitor General to reply.
Thank you very much, Speaker. You know, we're going to continue what we have done since the beginning, and that is listen to experts, get that information from the command table, from medical experts who understand what COVID-19 is. As those emerging issues come forward, as we see that we're learning more about what COVID does, what the pandemic can do within our community, frankly, killing people, we need to make sure that we listen to those experts and act quickly, which is why Ontario was the first jurisdiction in all of Canada to declare the declaration of emergency, because we knew Premier Ford understood the need to act quickly to protect our communities. Thank you.
Supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Bill 195 gave this Premier the unilateral ability for the next year, and possibly two, without debate amongst Ontario MPPs, to impose a second province-wide or regional shutdown at any time. The Premier could hold on to these powers right up until the next Ontario election. Therefore, it is important that the government provide consistency and clarity to the people of Ontario. Just this week, the Premier stated that despite the source of the most recent increases in positive COVID cases being social gatherings and not activities related to workplaces, he was considering a second shutdown for affected regions. Yesterday, the Premier said new measures are on their way. Earlier this month, the Premier stated that local officials are free to impose more restrictive limits on gatherings as they deem necessary. My question for the Premier is the government considering imposing a second broad shutdown of specific affected regions, even where the increases are due to social gatherings? Or will the government's new measures be more targeted and ensure that any tightening or furthering of restrictions will be done based on a framework with objective criteria?
Again, the Solicitor General.
Thank you, Speaker. I would have thought that the member opposite understood the legislation, that, in fact, it has a one-year time frame. Unprecedented. I cannot think of another piece of legislation that we have tabled in this province that has a timeline of 1 year. If it is deemed necessary to extend that, it would be voted on and debated in this chamber, as it should be. But, you know, I want to come back to, we need to listen to the experts. We need to understand how this is impacting our communities, our businesses, our friends and family, and we need to make sure that we do everything possible to keep people safe and sound. It is at its core what government must do, and I'm proud of how we've been able to do that so far. It's an emerging issue. We're learning more as the medical experts continue to share that information, and we need to react and respond when they share it. Thank you.